Welcome to Donington Park for the second weekend of the Britcar Endurance Championship. An exciting season opener at Silverstone saw Mike Miller take his Rapier Sports prototype to victory in race 1. While Javier Morcillo and Manuel Cintrano won race 2 in their Mosler and lead the overall standings coming into this event.
So the Neil Garner Motorsport drivers head the standings, but only by 3 points from the FF Corsa Ferrari of Callum Lockie and David Mason. In the Sports and Touring Car Championship, leaders Ian Anderson and Amanda Black are absent, so there's an opportunity for everyone else to close the gap, not least the father and son duo of Peter and Mark Cunningham. Rachel's been finding out how the pair came to race together.
I was the instigator of it, but Mark took it up more seriously than I did. I was just karting and all that when I was younger. Liked the idea of motor racing, always been around motor racing, but never actually took the bite and went racing. Mark did it first, and then an opportunity came along 2 or 3 years afterwards where I was introduced into the team because we're doing endurance racing and, yeah, father and son racing.
It's taken a little while to get him to get confidence in a front-wheel drive car because it is very loose and it's quite scary, and with the sort of power these things push out, it's quite hairy. So he's done well in a short period of time. He's been basically doing this for about 5 years, which in racing terms is quite small. So, and where he's at now, I'm very proud of him really to do that in that period of time and the pace he's doing. So he's doing all right.
Is there any rivalry though when you're here at a race meeting?
There's a lot of rivalry because he's always quicker than me.
Oh, we take the mick out of each other all the time. If he breaks it, he never lives it down, and if I break it, I never live it down. So it's a good laugh.
We do criticise one another. We won't always agree, that's for sure. But we will agree to disagree, and so it works.
Driving the Newbridge Porsche, Guillaume Gruchet has impressed so far this season.
You seem a very relaxed person. Do you think that's important to be relaxed when it comes to the pressures of racing?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's actually key, right? Being able to sort of relax yourself in the car. There are some difficult moments at any point in time during the race where there's a lot of pressure building up, and it's being able to sort of handle that pressure. And for me, the challenge of endurance racing is actually being able to focus for an hour and a half or a couple of hours in one stint. And to me, that's the beauty of endurance racing.
In qualifying, Craig Dolby and John Martin claimed pole in the American-built Riley.
A bit damp to start with, and then sort of dried out. So Craig went out first and had to bed the brakes and stuff in, and then I got in last 8-10 minutes or something, and did a reasonable time. So I think it was just a bit of luck really. We got a clear lap, and the car's obviously quick too. So really happy.
Owner Nigel Mustill gave us a guided tour inside the cockpit of his 500 horsepower car.
On the back of the steering wheel you have an upshift and then downshift with no use of a clutch. It's a fully sequential gearbox. There's a radio button, so when you want to speak to the pits you push this button, talk freely. There's an alarm setting on the dashboard, water temperature, engine temperature, all those parameters that are set. If one of those is exceeded, this will flash. It's got electric air conditioning, would you believe? So that when it's really, really hot, it gives you a little bit of advantage. It's not quite like your road car would be because things are not sealed in the same way, so you get a bit of leakage, but it does really help with a bit of airflow. Because Britcar regulations say that you can only refuel with 75 litres, the car only holds 85 litres, so basically we run it until the light comes on, which is a reserve warning, means we've got about 1.5 litres in the car left. So the problem obviously you have, and it sounds obvious, but if you pit stop and you can't get your quota of fuel in, you've wasted a pit stop really. Yeah. So it's quite crucial that all these things are up and working.
After Donington, Britcar has an overseas visit to Spa, which looks set to attract a large international field.
It's one of the finest circuits probably in the world. If you actually stand on the pit wall at the bottom of the pits, when the cars go past, the wall moves. Right, with the power of the weight of the air hitting it, it actually moves. The energy, everything, going through a rouge, going up the hill, it's one of the finest corners in the world. The people are great, the food's brilliant, chips are fantastic.
So we're all set for the third race of the season. Back to our commentator Chris Hartley for race highlights.
So it's the Riley of Martin and Dolby on pole, with Mike Millard's Rapier second and the Morcillo Cintrano Mosler third. Fastest in Class 2, Lockie and Mason line up fourth in their Ferrari. So to the left of your picture, it's the Riley. John Martin leads the race away from pole position. On board with the Ginetta of Ian Stinson, who's struggling to get up through the gear. So they all come storming past him. He drops way down the order from the second row of the grid. The Riley leads. Javier Morcillo tucks into second place, moving ahead of Mike Millard, who drops down to third place. On board with Ian Stinson, all seems well now, but he's lost 6 or 7 places, I would say, through Redgate Corner. Down through the Craner Curves for the first time comes the Riley. Then it's the Mosler. Then it's Mike Millard. And then it's Callum Lockie, who's the first of the Class 2 cars in his Ferrari, running in 4th place. Everybody makes a clean start. There's Andrew Donaldson in the Ginetta, which runs in Class 3. Up to McLean's for the first time, and the Australian John Martin leads the way. Perfect start for the Riley. The Spaniard chasing him down, though. Back on board with Ian Stinton here, and completely out of shape there for the number 31 Ferrari of Darren Nelson coming out of McLean's. So he'll lose a place. One back then for Ian Stinton. On board we go with Tom Howard in the BMW, the Mike Moss Motorsport car, as he works his way through Coppice Corner. Look at the concentration on his face. Already then down at the Melbourne Loop for the first time, leading the way and starting to edge away is this man, the race leader, John Martin. Incredibly quick driver in this super quick car, making his way into the final turn through Goddard's to complete the end of the first lap of the race. Going with him is Morcillo, a gap back then to Mike Millard, who was on pole position for this race last year. There he is in 3rd place. 4th place, it is still Callum Lockie in the Ferrari. And then we've got the ultimate of Johnny McGregor, and then it's Karim Moody in the Spice, completing the top 6. On board with Tom Howard, and he's about to lose a place here to the Ferrari of Darren Nelson, who comes up the inside of him in a different class car, more horsepower available to him. There's the number 43 BMW. Ian Donaldson and Alan Valevska sharing driving duties in that one, trying to make their way up in the Intersport racing car. Down through the Craner Curves and a spinner, and Darren Nelson, who just overtaken Tom Howard 2 corners ago, loses it right in front of Howard. Going down through the craters, he goes through the gravel, he's pointing in the wrong direction. Oh, and Howard's gone off as well. Damage there to the right side of the car. And sparks fly from the front right corner of the Audi of Peter Cook. So was he involved in all of that? Looks like he maybe has got a puncture. Trying to fire the car back up. Darren Nelson's got going again in the background, but Tom Howard is stuck in the gravel. Here's a replay on board with Tom Howard. He was right behind the Ferrari. He actually got past him and then went round. Look at him taking his hands off the wheel so he doesn't damage his thumbs. Very easy to break your thumbs when the steering wheel whips around like that. So there's the Ferrari. Yeah, the BMW actually got past. So I'm wondering if he had another separate incident or got tagged somewhere. Look at the white Audi to the left of the picture there. And that's Peter Cook, and yes, he tagged the BMW as the BMW weaved to avoid the spinning Ferrari. He just went right into the path of the Audi, who had nowhere to go, and he clipped him. BMW's gravel, the Ferrari's got out of the gravel trap, and Ian Stinton, while all that was going on, has picked a couple of places up, and now he gets up the inside of the Marcus, the Team Tiger car. And there, rejoining a lap down, look, is Peter Cook. It was a puncture from that contact. So lots of drama here in the first couple of laps of the race. None of it involving the Riley, which is still leading the race and extending its advantage. There is Mike Millard then in 3rd place. And there in 4th place, Callum Lockie. And there's Johnny McGregor in that self-built Ultima, which has taken 8 years to build on his case. So there's the Ferrari, there is the Ultima. Johnny McGregor firing along in that wonderful machine, 550 brake horsepower, 180 mile an hour top speed. And there's a former Le Mans car of Karim Moody, number 17, running in the top 6 as well. We go on board now with Andrew Donaldson in the number 41 Ginetta, right onto the tail of Guillaume Gruchet, the French driver in the Porsche, as they make their way through the old hairpin. There's the number 42 BMW, driven solely today by Mark Radcliffe. Completely new gearbox has been put into that car, and they haven't had any time to set it up, as there's a change of position there. Donaldson goes through the 41 machine, the Class 3 car, passing the Class 2 Porsche. The Porsche, though, tries to fight back. Guillaume Gruchet has a look at the inside on the way into Coppice Corner. And there's the number 45 Saxon Motorsport BMW of Robert Hall, which has had to start from the very back of the grid after a transponder problem in qualifying. Here's a replay of the move from Donaldson at the inside of Gruchet. Lovely move, that. And this is the onboard shot from the Track Talk Seat. And Martin Parsons overtaken there by Bartley Dougal. And these are battling for honours in Class 4 for the Sports and Production Championship. Also in that class is Chrissy Palmer in the Mazda, the ex-Formula Ford Festival winner, having a decent race here so far. Back on board with Gruchet and the Porsche we go, coming out of Goddard's, and in the background there's drama. That's the Class 4 leader, Peter Cunningham, who's had a moment down into the final turn. On board with Parsons as two Seats storm up the inside of him and then ran completely wide. That was the red 68 Zest Motorsport Seat of Rob Taylor and Graham Cox, and the red and white one, number 79 Chris Hayes and Andy Thompson in the Westlake car, which just went a bit too keen on the brakes there and almost hit Martin Parsons. So there's Cunningham, who slipped back a bit and maybe flat spotted the tyres as well. Back on board with the Track Talk car, Martin Parsons trying to get onto the tail now. Bartley Dougal in the BMW, both of them battling in Class 4, and that looks like a good move for Parsons. There he goes in the 77 Track Talk car with the onboard ahead of Bartley Dougal in the BMW with a nice neat move down into the old hairpin. Oh, and into the pits comes Mike Millard. So from third place, the Rapier comes in after just a few laps of racing. That's definitely an unscheduled stop. Back on board with the Ferrari, Callum Lockie coming under pressure and letting the Ferrari drift out there. The 170 mile an hour Ferrari coming under attack now from the Ultima, and Johnny McGregor storms through. Mike Millard comes back out now, and we'll have to try and catch them all up again. He's dropped down to around about 10th or 11th place. There's the Ultima then. Johnny McGregor and the team having spent 8 years getting this car ready. It absolutely flies, but it's not always the most reliable of cars. Callum Lockie closes back up under braking on the way to Coppice. The Ultima was very slow into the corner there. That looked a bit too easy. There's Ian Stinton, who's trying to make his way back up through the order and trying to close up to the yellow Spice there, driven by Kerry Moody, the ex-Porsche racer, working his way through. And there is the Ultima going very slowly. So I thought it looked like it had a problem, and it has, and a big slide there for Chris Baton in the Marcus, who gets that back end completely out of shape and just about hangs onto it through McLean's. Back on board this Seat battle here. There's Cunningham to the left of the picture. On board with Martin Parsons trying to squeeze up the inside just ahead. That's the number 48 Seat from Class 3 of Richard Adams, Max Adams and David Green. Richard and David both former Britcar champions. Cunningham comes back up the inside on the way into the left-hander. At Goddard's, will he squeeze back ahead of our man with the onboard? Yes, he will. So tremendous battle going on here between the Seats. There they all are at the top of the shot. The BMW of Nick and Tim Adams goes off the circuit at the old hairpin, and spots of rain on the camera lens, so it's a little bit slippy out there at the moment. 1 or 2 showers. Well, here's the race leader, John Martin, one of his main rivals, Johnny McGregor, having dropped out of the race.
We were having a good race. We were fighting with Callum in the 458, and we coming onto the back straight and accelerated, and the suspension seemed to give a little, and then we lost drive. The drive shaft seems to have popped out of the upright, so couldn't really see what was wrong up there, but obviously we couldn't drive, so we couldn't get anywhere.
And here's Mike Millard storming back through the order, back up to 8th place as he passes the Ginetta of Andrew Donaldson. And in the pits, Rachel has been finding out why Mike made that early pit stop.
The car fundamentally is very good. We've got a niggly electrical gremlin on one critical sensor on the engine. The root cause of the gremlin has yet to be found, but we are zeroing in on it. We've found a workaround, but it is a bit of a sticky plaster on a broken arm at the moment.
So it's all going well for the championship leaders at the moment there in 2nd place. Time for us now to take a short break. Welcome back to Donington Park, round 3 of the Britcar Endurance Championship. On board with Ian Stinton as he makes his way into Goddard's, climbing up to the Spicer and just about avoiding the spinning Audi there of Peter Cook. That was close. Breathe in, you just about made it through the tiniest of gaps. There's the Seat of Taylor and Cox, recovering from its own bit of outbraking earlier on in the race, and struggling through the gears there is Guillaume Gruchet, the Porsche. So ahead of him now comes the number 45 BMW. So Rob Hall, the ex-Formula Ford racer, has picked up 2 places in the last couple of laps, moving ahead of the Intersport BMW and then ahead of Gruchet, really charging up the order is that car. There's the Nick and Tim Adams BMW, which had a spin earlier on, being overtaken there by the Capital Compactors Chevron of Jensen Lunn and Alistair Lindsay. As trying to fight back up the inside is Guillaume Gruchet in the Porsche. He's very good on the brakes, is Guillaume, and comes alongside Rob Hall in the Saxon Motorsport BMW, but that BMW is mega in a straight line. And the Class 3 car comes storming back up the inside and gets the place back on the way into Redgate Corner. Not that Guillaume is going to give the place up easily. He tries to hang on as they disappear down through the Craner curves and disappearing into the pit lane. That's Andrew Donaldson in the Ginetta, and that car looks like it's got a problem. It's a good battle going on here for 4th and 5th, though. The spice of Kareem Moody coming under pressure now from Ian Stinton, who had dramas at the start of the race. But the Ginetta is flying now, and one of the quickest cars out there. And Ian Stinton is a very experienced GT and endurance racer. He's making that thing sing at the moment, right onto the tail of the spice coming out of McLean's. This is going to be a move, surely. He climbs uphill, hits the brakes, turns right, and makes the move stick through Coppice Corner. Lovely move that from Stinton to get the place back. There's David Mason ready to get into the FF Corsa Ferrari, so getting into that time now. It's the middle of the race, driver changes. That is Emin Sadik getting out of the car. Claims to be the first ever racing driver from Azerbaijan. There's the Audi in for the 3rd time now. Had 1 stop for a puncture, had 1 stop for a stop-go because it pitted for too short a time, and now it's in for its standard stop. That's Barclay Dougal still doing good things in the BMW in Class 4. And Ian Stinton is now closing down upon the 3rd place Ferrari look. So Callum Lockie pushing hard as he makes his way through Red Gate. The slick tyres almost giving in then as he pushed it hard. And somebody else that's been pushing hard here is the number 68 Seat, the Taylor Cox Zest Motorsport car in stripe up at Coppice. Chris Baton getting out of the Marcus now, which is running well up in the top 6. And there's a terrific job from Rob Hall getting out of that Saxon BMW. Driver to safety into Coppice Corner. There's the change of position. Callum Lockie losing the place then. 3rd position overall to Ian Stinton. That is Kareem Moody from the Spice, which was running so well in this race. And the Spice has come to a halt up on the run up towards Coppice Corner. So just in the middle of the race here, they've begun to drop like flies. The Spice, what a shame, out of the race after such a good run in the first 40 minutes. There's the Mosler then, championship leader, Javier Morcillo, and he's the leader now because this is the Riley stopping on the run down towards the S's. John Marty was about to bring the car in for the driver change, and the Riley, the race-leading car, has stopped. The Saxon BMW is in with a problem, and Rachel is talking to Ian Stinton to find out why the Ginetta is still stuck in the pits.
I was coming to the end of the straight at over 140 miles an hour, changed down 2 gears, the gearbox is working, happy days, turned in, no power steering, so the car's over the curbs, I'm heading towards the grass, I can see tyres and everything else. All of a sudden I become Hercules, I'm wrestling the wheel, I turn the wheel, I get the car in, and I think, oh, what's happened here? Get to the next corner, and I have to use all my strength to turn the wheel to get around the Melbourne hairpin in the last corner. The team's asking me what's happened, why are you so slow? I'm going, I'm a bit busy at the moment, wrestling with the car.
And there, sadly, is the view from what was the race-leading Riley.
What happened? We're not too sure yet. We've lost drive, so probably something like a drive shaft or maybe a clutch problem. It's a bit of a shame, really, because we had quite a nice lead 5 minutes before I was meant to take over and jump in. So, yeah, early bath for me, I guess.
Back on track, the Marcus coming under fire now from a resurgent Mike Millard in the Rapier, who slings one up the inside. He's the quickest driver out there at the moment, Mike Millard. Tremendous move to get that car back ahead of the Marcus. So he's back into a podium paying position. He's 2nd, the Marcus is 3rd. David Mason, who's not as quick as Callum Lockie, but still fighting hard in the Ferrari, still leads Class 2 and still runs in 4th place overall. But the other Ferrari now has Nigel Greensall on board, and he's several seconds a lap quicker. 5th place is Guillaume Gruchet, who is 3rd in Class 2. Tremendous drive this from Mark Radcliffe, who leads Class 3. And the sister Intersport Racing BMW of Ian Donaldson and Anna Walewska ran 2nd in that class. So the team having a good day. Barclay Dougal continues to lead Class 4 for the Sports and Touring Car Championship, who scores separate points. And up to 2nd in that category now is the Chris Hayes, Andy Thompson Westlake Seat, just ahead of the Track Talk car now driven by Henry Dawes. Yellow flags are waving. The safety car has been deployed because we've lost the Chris Baton Marcus, which stopped down at the old hairpin. Safety car comes in, only about 10 minutes to go. There is the Mosler, Manuel Cintrano leading the way. Right behind him in 2nd place is Mike Millard, but he's a lap down. He's just about to unlap himself, I think, on the way into Redgate Corner. Had he managed that before the safety car had come out, he might have had a chance to catch a lap back up, but I think he's going to have enough time. We've also got a tremendous battle for Class 4. Barclay Dougal still leads the way, but the Seats are all together 2nd, 3rd and 4th as Mark Cunningham tries to come back up the order, having had an extra pit stop and dropped away away from a class podium position. We've got Ferraris chasing each other for Class 2, so that was a glimpse of Nigel Greensaw, who's just started the lap, on board with David Mason in the FF Course Ferrari, and the Seats come past him, and Cunningham now has moved ahead of the Westlake car. So Cunningham is up to second in Class 4, and there is Nigel Greensaw absolutely flying after David Mason. There is number 66, the hugely experienced Will Arif in the Land of Flames run BMW, hoping to finish the race. Also doing rather well in probably the least powerful car out there is Chrissy Palmer, running in 14th place overall in the Mazda. And now around the outside into the final corner of the lap comes Nigel Greensaw in the BAMD Ferrari to get Class 2 lead away from David Mason. There's Frank Pell in the Audi, which is running in 5th place overall despite its early race problems. On board it with the Porsche of Guillaume Gruchet. Now it gets out of shape into the old hairpin, clips the curve, and he's into the gravel here. Almost at the end of the race. Come on, Guillaume, get the car out. He spins the wheels, and he's just about made it. He's not going to get beached, and I don't think it'll cost him any positions. And that is now Mark Cunningham ahead of Bartley Dougal, but he's got to finish 5 seconds ahead of him to win the category. And that's because he's carrying a 5-second penalty. Meanwhile, the checkered flag comes out, and Manuel Cintrano takes the Mosler to its 2nd win of the season. Despite running out of fuel on the final lap, Millard hangs on to 2nd, with Nelson and Greensall winning Class 2, Mark Radcliffe victorious in Class 3, and the Cunninghams taking Class 4. Mark Cunningham had to beat Barclay Dougal by 5 seconds or more to make up for a time penalty, and this he did when the BMW driver had a moment going on to the last lap. So another outright win for the Mosler, thanks in part to the early demise of the Riley.
It's always a pity that a car you're fighting with doesn't finish the race for a mechanical reason. That's nobody's fault, and it's a pity because we could have had a fantastic race to the end. Very sorry for these guys. They did deserve probably the win, and at least they deserve a good fight for the win.
A stunning late charge from Nigel Greensall helped the BAMD Ferrari team to an outright win in the 2nd race of the weekend, after David Mason dropped to 3rd and Manuel Cintrano span out of the lead in the closing stages. Despite this, Morcillo and Cintrano still lead the standings, but only by 2 points from David Mason and Callum Lockie, with Millard 3rd and Gruchet moving up to 4th. And following their class win, the Cunninghams pick up the lead of the Britcar Sports and Touring Car Championship from the Track Talk Optical Express team and the Land of Flame BMW.
Well, that wraps up our coverage here from Donington Park. Next time, the Britcar Endurance Championship will be heading to the world-famous Spa-Francorchamps, Belgium, for what promises to be the highlight of the season. We'll see you then.